Good morning, I'm Paolo del Rosario, and welcome to Industry Beacon, where we shine a light on the trailblazers, the disruptors, and the leaders shaping our future. And in each episode, we'll explore how they're staying ahead in their fields, one industry at a time. The Philippines continues to benefit from the post-pandemic travel resurgence. In 2024, visitor revenue from international tourists rose 9% to an all-time high of 760 billion pesos. As the industry continues to surpass pre-pandemic levels, how are we chipping in? What should be considered as you pack your bags for your next travel destination? And most importantly, how do you snag the best deal? We're now joined by Chal Lontoc-Del Rosario of the Philippine Travel Agencies Association. Thank you very much for joining us and spending time with us here.
Thank you so much, Paolo. Glad to be here at Industry Beacon.
Chal, let's start off first with the numbers that we mentioned a while ago. This is an all-time high in terms of international tourist revenue, and the industry itself, I'm sure you're very well connected with all of the comings and goings here. Is that felt at the ground level, in the industry level, that this is the record-breaking, that we have just seen record-breaking numbers when it comes to the revenues coming from foreign tourists?
Well, as always, there's always room for improvement, but in terms of it being felt, of course, these are domestic travel figures that you have mentioned. So I think that one of the biggest things that play on this is the social media. You know, even the younger generation are always on the lookout for the next hot spot. So we're not just focused on the same areas all the time, you know, Boracay, Cebu, but they're even exploring further. In terms of tourist arrivals, it might not be as high as we would want it to, but we also still feel it. Each person that comes in, of course, brings in different ways where they can generate revenues for the industry. You're talking about food, the restaurants, you're talking about the different tours that they partake in, of course, their accommodations. So yes, we're very glad that things are better now, way better, of course, than what we were experiencing during the pandemic.
You know, pre-pandemic, if I'm not mistaken, it's 126% recovery from 600 billion pesos back in 2019. What would you attribute that to, considering the fact that pre-pandemic, just looking at numbers of foreign tourists and arrivals that we received from China, was over 1 million. Now it's around and about 300,000. What spurred this particular growth?
So we may not have the same numbers when it comes to the China market, but we do see also that the Korean market and travelers who are coming in are still there and are still going strong. Next, I believe, are everyone from the United States. So this composed of both balikbayans. These are also the tourists who are from there. So the numbers may not have reached the target, but the revenue is a very big factor because we are higher, like what you've mentioned earlier, Paolo, than pre-pandemic.
Mm-hmm. And of course, is it a factor? You mentioned it. We have to kind of clarify here because there are less people than what was expected. If I'm not mistaken, it was around 7.7 million foreign tourists. That was
Right.
the goal that was not reached. And yet we still hit those record high numbers. Is it really about the spending per tourist that has arrived in the Philippines that has risen here? Because there's also data presented by the DOT that foreign tourists are now spending 2 to 3 more days on average compared to the 9 previously to now 11.
Yeah, I think that's one of the patterns that has changed after the pandemic, which is that people in general spend longer days in a particular area and are more open to twinning cities or going beyond one particular place. So I think that's what attributes to the higher revenue spending as well. So let's say I'm flying in Cebu, then automatically I'd probably explore Bohol as well.
Mm-hmm.
I would also go to other nearby areas, and that's what we're seeing happening here. Same thing with Palawan. And I think, it's a big thing also now that we have more connectivity because after all, we are an a country of islands, 7,600. So it's not as easy as our neighboring countries who are hitting their targets. You still have to travel via boat, via airplanes. And yet we're still able to reach these revenue numbers. So I think that this really also plays a big factor on how we were able to bring in connectivity. So, like what I was saying with Palawan, we already have land travel, but we also have our flights that where you don't need to go back all the way to Manila just to be able to explore the other beautiful beaches. So, from Palawan, you could probably fly in direct to Boracay already, as opposed to going back to Manila and then flying to Boracay. So, these things play a big factor, and that's why we're so excited to bring in the 30-second Travel Tour Expo happening this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday because we know everyone is excited. The Filipinos are excited to go shopping for travel as well.
Yeah, it's called the biggest travel expo of the year. As you mentioned, it's from February 7 to 9 at the SMX Convention Center. Could you give us an idea of the scale of the event and what people could expect once they go and visit?
Surely. So we are the biggest and the best. We are claiming it for a reason. This is our 32nd Travel Tour Expo. We have been doing this for 32nd years. Imagine that. And it just keeps going bigger and better. We will be having international airlines, domestic airlines, international resorts and hotels. Same thing with local international resorts and hotels. I think the best part here is that we will also be having travel tour agencies that are vetted. Everything is going online right now, and we are hearing a lot of not so nice news of people getting scammed, being so-called legit travel agents, only to find out later after they've paid wala na pala yung packages nila. So here, we have vetted all the travel agents. Most of them, of course, are PTAA associated. And this means that you will be getting the real deal. Also, everyone who will be joining the expo are required to give a discount promos that you will really be able to enjoy. So in terms of scale, we're talking about 700 booths or 300 exhibitors in total as well. We have the ground floor and the upper floor. So there's no way you're not going to find anything of your dream destination once you come this weekend to SMX.
And of course, there's going to be a showcase there, obviously, for the local destinations. And when you take a look at the number of options, you mentioned the connectivity. I was going through all of the offerings there, and it feels like more and more people have been, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but then it feels like there have been more cruise ships coming in and around the Philippines. If I'm not mistaken, Boracay in particular will now have 10 arrivals as compared to the past 5 in terms of cruise ships in the upcoming year. Is that something that is a bit untapped considering we are an archipelago and there are so many key destinations in the Philippines?
Yeah, so there's actually a lot of potential still, but we're very happy that it's already been happening where cruise ships actually start off or port with us. So I think in terms of growth, we have Iloilo, which is already very port ready as well. So we hope to see more of that. But it's not just domestically, in the entire Southeast Asia. I think one of the biggest things that people always look forward to are these cruise packages, and the Filipinos have yet to learn to really maximize this because it's really cheaper, better. You don't have to pack and unpack when you're jumping from one city to another. Another excitement that most Filipinos have is, of course, the Disney cruises, which is just right by Singapore, happening already. Things are getting closer and closer, easier within reach.
Are there any specific trends that you see that are growing when it comes to travel in the Philippines from the local travelers first and foremost, and then of course from the foreign arrivals coming in? Because it does feel, especially in certain beach destinations, you have those foreign-based or foreigners coming in, spending almost a month entirely in one island or two.
I think it really depends on the demographic of tourists that come in. So Europeans tend to stay longer and they really have slower travels as opposed to Asians who really jump into the beaches, 3 days, 5 days, 6 days. So it really depends on the type of tourists that are coming in. In terms of trends, we're still, to be honest, they're there, but we're still also trying to figure things out because a lot of these are because of what they see online.
Yes.
So of course we have TikTok contributing to the stories. So now one place like Boracay that's been frequented by tourists can be paired up with another nearby province because one particular traveler has shown it online. So it goes the same thing, for example, with Baguio and then moving up to Sagada. So it's really dictated right now. We see a lot of it being dictated because of social media.
I would love to dive into social media with you later on in the show. But of course, when we take a look at how the evolution of this particular of the post-pandemic tourism here in the Philippines, when you take a look at the local travel, are we seeing a surge in that as well? Because we are now seeing other countries coming in, South Korea, United States, as we mentioned a while ago, and Australia now actually having a bit of a surge. How about local tourism? Is it growing as well as we see in the other markets coming in?
Yes, yes, of course. Filipinos are always known to be multi-generational travelers, meaning when we usually travel, we bring in our kids, we bring in our grandparents, our parents, so on and so forth, our cousins as well. So it really contributes a lot. Also, having the younger generation, really taking interest into going deeper into travel and not just following certain trends, that also contributes a lot. So the surge is there. Local travel is still in. I hear a lot of people say that mas mahal magbiyahe minsan sa Pilipinas, and we won't deny it. But then there is actually a gift to that. So you have places like Batanes, which would probably cost more, let's say, than Hong Kong, maybe nearby countries that we visit. However, once you go there, you will truly understand the beauty and why the pricing is such. It is a place like no other. So these things take into consideration. We're glad to say that people are still Filipinos are still happily traveling and loving the Philippines.
Now let's go into the social media aspect of it because they are practically one of the greatest advertisements the Philippines can have, especially with people talking about some of the natural formations, some of the wonders that we do have here. Just how big of a factor is social media influence when it comes to promoting a location and trying to ensure responsible tourism at the same time?
In terms of promotion, of course, it's very big, just like with any product and services nowadays. You have, of course, the influence of all of these people showing you different places. And that's why even the marketing style has changed. You'll find a lot of these travel agencies online doing their promotions already also. And that's why in PTAA, we always try, or Philippine Travel Agencies Association, we always remind also buyers to make sure that the travel agencies that you deal with, especially online, are vetted or
Yeah.
accredited. Like what I mentioned, there's a lot of scamming happening, and it may look real, it may look good, the deals may seem nice, but it's still different to having someone with a physical office who's put their stake into their business and making sure that they are selling something that is worth their time and your time as well worth your money as well as a traveler. So there are pros and cons with it. So social media for marketing, for learning, yes. Now in terms of shopping and buying, not so much, because a lot of
Yeah.
people are saying, I can just buy this online. Why do we have a travel tour expo? Well, let me get into it straight up. It's really different once you go to a marketplace where everyone, these are competitors at the end of the day, come in, say yes, we'll be next to each other. We will be bringing down our rates, promos, driving the market, making sure that everyone will get the best discounts. And that's what we're providing here. 2 floors, 700 booths, 300 exhibitors and more. Biggest brands, international and domestic, for Travel Tour Expo that are vetted, that are sure and required to give you promos and discounts.
Chal, we'll talk more about local tourism and the Travel Tour Expo 2025 when we return. So please stay with us. We're going to take a quick break. Industry Beacon will be right back. Stay with us.
Good evening, I'm Pinky Webb.
The questions,
What did you uncover?
Nakita natin yung sa IPO, there was a violation of Section 8 of Republic Act 9511.
the issues.
Is there a problem with that, the present setup of the syntax?
The reason there's a 5% increase is because of inflation.
We clarify matters.
All these government agencies, we're actually the lowest. That's why it has to be, I hope that it will be addressed.
Pinky Web is always on point. Every morning,
We won't mention who.
let's start your day right and laugh with fun. Join Paolo del Rosario
So excited to bring it all here for you.
and Asis Carillo.
Always a pleasure sharing our mornings with you. Don't forget, wherever this day takes you, choose joy and spread kindness.
And Monique Tuzon.
Your mornings are mo fun with us. Join us in the next hour for stories and conversations that matter.
Only here on
It's a beautiful day.
Get to the latest stories.
The Philippines bags a historic bronze at the 2025 Asia-Pacific Women's Lacrosse Championship.
The updates.
Table tennis power duo siblings brought home medals from the WTT Youth Contender.
The scores and what to celebrate in the world of sports.
I'm Anton Rojas.
And I'm Erica Christensen.
On the scorecard,
Where sports is our business.
business is our sport.
Only here on PNC, the Billionario News Channel. Bawat anggulo ng bawat issue.
Nagsagawa ng mock polls ang Commission on Elections sa 30 barangay sa bansa kaninang umaga.
Bawat detalye ng mga napapanahong pangyayari.
Pinaiimbestigahan sa Kamara ang hindi pa rin nababayarang reimbursements ng mga ospital sa PhilHealth.
Tuloy-tuloy na ihahatid kahit hanggang Sabado at Linggo.
At yan ang ating weekend agenda ngayong Sabado. Ako si George Cahiles. Sa bawat issue may anggulo at ang balita may agenda.
And we're back. You're still watching Industry Beacon. Let's continue our chat on the travel industry with Chal Lontoc-Del Rosario of the Philippine Travel Agencies Association. Thank you very much for staying on. And of course, Chal, let's talk about the sustainability of trying to make sure that we do protect all of our resources when it comes to tourism. It is one of the thrusts here of the event itself, as I'm reading through the brief as well. It encourages sustainable and responsible tourism. There was a story that just ran today about how Bohol is now trying to clamp down on the whale watching activities there that are done not responsibly, that are actually affecting some of the whale sharks over there. When you have incidents like this, how important is it for your organization, the Philippine Travel Agencies Association, to try and make sure that the activities are not detrimental to the long-term sustainability of Philippine tourism?
So sustainability is no longer just a trend. It really is part of our business. So you're talking about people, planet, and profit. And yes, profit is included because after all, we are entrepreneurs,
Yes.
we are running a business. And you will be happy to know that, especially for most Western European travelers, this is something that they need and want in their packages. So once they see that there are inclusions that are not too sustainable, it's not usually chosen. So we try to really be conscious by providing and incorporating it in our tour packages already. They have to see that the accommodations are sustainable. They have to see that the tours are both for people and planet as well. Now you're talking about whale sharks and all of these tours. So there are several ways to do this in the Philippines. And I believe Don Sol is one of those that really practices it in such a way where nothing is forced. It's really sustainable because you're not feeding them, you're still making them live according to how they're supposed to, which is to hunt for their own food. So there are these options still. We got to sit down with Secretary Cristina Frasco, and she did say that it is within their pipeline. It's already being done to even incentivize sustainable travels. And I think that would be the best news, to be able to incorporate sustainable travels in our day-to-day work as in the tourism industry. So incentives should be there. Awareness is slowly being done. But what really drives us to put it there, aside from, you know, us loving to be sustainable, is that we're happy to find that the demand is there.
Yeah.
People are really looking for places, for experiences that are more sustainable.
Is that a relatively new occurrence, the demand for sustainable tourism?
So it's been ongoing throughout the years, especially through the pandemic. For my company, Geron Travel, our retraining was really about sustainability while waiting during the pandemic. And lucky for us, once the world opened, it's not just a trend, it's been a requirement as well.
All right, so we're taking a look again. For those who want to go out and travel, there is the biggest travel expo in the Philippines, the biggest and the best, according to Ms. Chal over here, Travel Tour Expo 2025 at SMX. When people do go there and people do try and discover new locations and new packages, what do you think? Are there any particular provinces, locations that has surprised you with the demand or the growth as of late that people should look forward to in 2025?
So the beauty of being and going to the Travel Tour Expo, it is the biggest and best, not only because I say it, because also by data. 32nd years of doing this and having all these vetted travel agencies and the biggest names you can think of in terms of airlines and accommodations and other partners. The beauty of it is that you will find different offerings.
Yeah.
So yes, we will have Boracay, we will have Bohol, Cebu, Palawan. They will always be there. But another thing emerging is that people are more open now to, let's say, flying and asking for packages to Zamboanga, to Tawi-Tawi, to Batanes, even though it's a little bit pricey. They understand the quality that it provides. So people are more curious, if I should say so, to go out there to Luzon, Visayas, all the way to Mindanao.
Well, that is a great advert for the Travel Tour Expo 2025. I'm personally excited to try and find my way there as well and get traveling. For those who want to follow your organization on social media and find out more updates, especially for any future events that you'll have, do you have any presence on social media?
Yes, of course, we have to. Like as mentioned, it's the thing right now. So whether it's on TikTok, on Instagram, on Facebook, all you have to do is search for PTAA_travel tour or just simply Google PTAA travel tour. So we encourage you to make time to come Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Just a few reminders. If you are a Union Bank card holder, you'll be able to get a free entrance. You'll also be able to enjoy 0% interest, paying up to 3 to 6 months, which everyone loves, of course, when you're travel shopping. If you are also a Mabuhay elite card holder and other tiers, you could also avail of free entrances. So all of these things are all for you. You could enjoy 50 to 70% even, I hear, whether it's cruise, I forget to mention cruise packages, land tours, flights, tickets, everything will be there. So planning your 2025 travels will be perfect right now. Now is the time to buy it. I think the last message I want to put out there is people always ask us, when is the best time to buy it? And when you look online, people will give you all these theories. Oh, it should be on a Wednesday and the midweek. It should be on 3 to 6 months before your travel. Wrong. Let me debunk that. The answer is really simple and straightforward. The best time to buy your travel is when there's a promo. So different airlines, different institutions, different travel agencies will have different schedules to release these promos. But on this day, or on these days rather, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you will be having everyone giving you discounts. And I think that's the best time to shop.
Oh, that's the time to buy for sure. Ladies and gentlemen, she is Chal Lontoc-Del Rosario of the Philippine Travel Agencies Association. Thank you very much for coming on and sharing with us your insights. And that's it for today's show. I'm Paolo del Rosario. Catch the Billionaire News Channel on Free TV, Channel 31, and on cable via Signal, Channel 24. Thanks for watching the Billionaire News Channel, always on top.